You've probably heard the phrase before. You were made in God's image. But if you really stop and think about it, most people don't actually know what that means, not deeply, because usually it gets reduced to a vague spiritual phrase, something that sounds important but feels strangely disconnected from real life. This is the inner atlas, where we map the inner life. Maybe part of what makes this topic difficult is that identity already feels confusing. A lot of people are trying to figure out who they are while simultaneously trying to become someone. So identity slowly gets tied to performance, to achievement, approval, productivity, appearance, and after a while, your worth starts feeling conditional, like you matter more when you're succeeding. At the same time, people feel internally fragmented, like different parts of them are pulling in different directions. You can feel disconnected from yourself without even knowing how to explain it, like something about being human feels unclear. And underneath all of that is usually a deeper question. Why are we here at all? What actually makes human beings valuable? And what does it even mean to be human biblically? Because when identity loses deeper grounding, people start constructing themselves from whatever the world rewards. And that creates instability. Most people don't even realize this is what's happening. The self slowly becomes dependent on external reinforcement. So instead of identity being something rooted, it becomes something constantly maintained. Something you have to keep proving. Human beings naturally orient themselves around something, what they admire, fear, worship, follow. And over time, people begin reflecting whatever they give themselves to. That pattern shows up psychologically, spiritually, and relationally, which means the question is not just, who am I, but also, what am I becoming shaped by? And maybe part of the restlessness people feel is connected to misalignment, like something inside knows it was made for coherence. If this feels familiar, you're not the only one. A lot of people are searching for identity while disconnected from the deeper story that gives identity meaning. Genesis chapter 1, verses 26 to 28 say, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness." And right after that, humanity is given responsibility within creation. That connection matters, because being made in God's image was never just about appearance. It was connected to stewardship, relationship, creativity, responsibility, and representation. Humanity was designed to reflect something true about God into the world, almost like ambassadors carrying his character into creation. How you love people matters. How you create, lead, forgive, and relate matters. Your moral awareness matters too. That sense of right and wrong is not random. Scripture presents human beings as relational, purposeful, embodied, creative, and morally aware. All of that is connected to the image of God. Psalm chapter 8, verses 4 to 8 deepen this even further. David looks at the vastness of creation and asks, "What is man that you are mindful of him?" It's a deeply human question. Why would finite, fragile people matter so much to God? But Psalm 8 says humanity was crowned with dignity and entrusted with responsibility. Not because humans invented their own importance, but because God intentionally gave it. And this eventually points toward Jesus. Colossians chapter 1, verse 15 calls him the image of the invisible God. Jesus reveals not only what God is like, he also reveals what aligned humanity looks like. Where humanity became fragmented, fearful, prideful, or disconnected, Jesus embodied integrity, dependence on the Father, compassion, truth, and love. So maybe the issue is not that human beings have no value. Maybe we've been trying to ground identity in the wrong places. Because according to Scripture, human worth begins before achievement, before status, before performance. Being made in God's image means your identity is rooted in origin, relationship, and design, not self-construction. And maybe what people are actually longing for is integration. Mind, body, purpose, relationship, and identity functioning together again. So being made in God's image is not just a theological label. It's part of what explains human dignity, purpose, meaning, and design. It explains why human beings long for relationship, meaning, creativity, morality, transcendence, and belonging. Because humanity was created to reflect something beyond itself. If this resonated with you, consider subscribing for more conversations about identity, growth, faith, and the deeper patterns shaping our lives. And if you think someone else might need this right now, feel free to share it with them. I'd also love to hear your thoughts in the comments. What part of this stayed with you the most? Thank you for being here. I'll see you in the next reflection.